Hello, hello and welcome. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And today I want to discuss, hey, what are my options? All right, if I'm undocumented in the United States, what are my options? What can I do about it? What can I do about it? And basically I'm going to go over 7 different common options that my office helps people through. All right. And these are options for undocumented immigrants. If you are undocumented, well, first of all, if you're undocumented, like it is not easy to be undocumented in the United States. All right. It is not easy. And, a lot of times you get doors closed in your face. You can't find a job that you want. You can't, it's a challenge even to open a bank account or to go to the hospital or to do anything that you want to do. And because there's fear involved and things like that, you do have rights, okay? And depending on what state you live in, certain states give the undocumented community more rights than other states do. And so I encourage you to be fully informed about what your rights are to do certain things. Can you get a driver's license, for example? Can you pay your taxes? Can you open bank accounts? The answer to most of these things are yes, depending on which state you live in. All right. In the state of California, for example, you can get a driver's license. You can't get a social security card, but you can get a tax identification number so that you can pay your taxes. You can use that number to open a bank account depending on the bank. All right. And so just want you to be aware of what your rights are. I do have other presentations that go into more depth about what your rights are. It's important to know that, but it's also important to know what are your options to change your immigration status so that you can get documents so that you don't have to worry about what are the rights of undocumented people. You want to get documents, all right? That's really the solution to fix your immigration issue. And so how do we do that? So there's basically 7 different types of cases that I want to go over. And I'm just going to go over with them quickly. You're going to want to do a consultation with a lawyer to really get into the nitty-gritty as to whether or not it's recommendable for you to apply for any of these. All right. Sometimes the best advice is to not apply for any of these things. All right. And sometimes that really is the best advice, but better to know that than to just be going on, wondering. And certainly don't apply for any of these unless you know or you fully understand what your strategy is or what your options are to get these benefits. Okay. So the first option I want to discuss is asylum. All right. Asylum is not easy. Asylum is risky. Asylum is it's no walk in the park. All right. People talk about it on the news as if people can just arrive to the US and request asylum. There is truth. You can request asylum, but it is not easy to get your case approved. Okay. And a lot of people request asylum and end up getting themselves into deportation proceedings and getting deported. And so be cautious about asylum. But what is asylum generally? Asylum is if you your life is in danger. If you are in danger in your country, all right? If you've been threatened, if you've been harmed, if you've been persecuted because of who you are, all right? Because of your race, your religion, your nationality, your political opinion, all right? Or your membership in a group, or because of your identity, because of your sexual orientation or something like that. If you've been harmed in your country, or if you're fleeing violence in your country, hey, you might have a case for asylum. All right, that's option number 1. For asylum, remember, you've got to file your case within 1 year of entry into the US, and it's not an easy and it's not a fun process. All right, so just be aware of that. Option number 2, U visas. U visas are also not fun. To be eligible for a U visa, you have to have been the victim of an abuse, crime, harm, attack, assault. Something bad has to have happened to you here in the United States, and you had to have called the authorities, the police, right? The prosecutor, whatever. You had to have called the authorities, law enforcement, and you have to have helped in the investigation or the prosecution of that crime in order to be eligible for a U visa. There are other requirements too, but that's what a U visa is about. You have to have been the victim of some kind of harm, and you have to have cooperated with law enforcement about it. All right. And so that's what a U visa is. Option number 3 is what we call VAWA. VAWA. VAWA stands for the Violence Against Women Act. All right. And it's not just for women. I mean, women can both apply for VAWA. But the issue with VAWA is you have to have been married to, all right, you have to have been married to a United States citizen or a green card holder, and you must have suffered abuse or extreme cruelty during your marriage. Okay? And yeah, it also works for children of that type of marriage. All right. So if you're a child, and you can also request VAWA if your parent, if your parent suffered that type of abuse. That's VAWA. So if you were married to a United States citizen or a green card holder and you suffered abuse or extreme cruelty, you could qualify for VAWA. You've also got to file your case within 2 years of that marriage. So if you're getting divorced, be aware you've got to file for VAWA within 2 years after that divorce. Okay. So, and that's just the basics. There are other requirements as well, but if you've been in that situation, contact an immigration lawyer. We can go into the more depth about it. Option number 4 is a big one, and it is adjustment of status. It's applying for a green card. Okay. Option number 4 is adjustment of status. Now, the main question, there's lots of things to go through to see if you're eligible for adjustment of status. Have you ever been arrested? Have you ever used or possessed drugs? Have you ever helped any other person immigrate without permission? Have you ever, claimed that you were a U.S. citizen or submitted false documents to immigration before? Anything like that can cause a problem for an adjustment of status case. But the very first requirement to adjust status is, were you inspected and admitted or quote unquote paroled? Because if you came in without inspection, if you came in undocumented, you're not going to be eligible for adjustment of status, with one exception, and that is quote unquote 245I if you had a petition filed before April 30th of 2001. The vast majority of people, if you entered without inspection, you're not going to be eligible to adjust status. So it's not an option for you. But for those, if you entered with a visa, if you were paroled in at the border, if you entered, if you were waived through even, you might be eligible and do a consultation for adjustment of status if you're married to a U.S. citizen, if you have a child who's turning 21, if you have a parent who's petitioned for you. But typically it's through marriage to a U.S. citizen. That's the best way to do it. But you want to see if you have a family member who can petition for you, and if you entered lawfully, you were inspected and admitted, or you were paroled in the U.S., heck, you might be able to adjust your status. Got it? All right. Option number 5 is a consular green card. We often call this a waiver case. All right. Because if you weren't inspected or admitted when you entered, then you need to request a waiver, and you need to process the case through the U.S. consulate in your home country. But that is an option, and we've got lots of clients that are going through that process. The thing there is you've got to make sure that the only issue is unlawful presence, and we can waive the unlawful presence. We've got to make sure that any inadmissibility that you have is quote unquote waivable. All right. And you've got to have a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, spouse or parent, because those are the qualifying relatives for a waiver of the unlawful presence inadmissibility issues. Okay. All right, good. I hope this is making sense. We're making progress. Number 6 out of 7 is what's called cancellation of removal. Cancellation of removal is like, I don't recommend that you file it unless you're like in removal proceedings, because cancellation of removal is risky. All right, it is risky. You've got to file it. You've got to you put yourself in deportation proceedings in immigration court. To win a cancellation of removal case, you've got to have 10 years of physical presence in the United States, and you've got to show that you've got a United States citizen or a green card holding spouse, parent, or child who would suffer what the law considers to be an exceptional and an extremely unusual hardship, like a crazy amount of high hardship if you were deported, okay? And there are some other bars to it. It's a very tough case to win, all right? And often the clients that are successful requesting cancellation of removal, often they have, children who suffer from autism, or a spouse who has cancer, or someone who depends on them who has like Down syndrome, or, some severe medical need to have you be supporting them for their daily functions, all right? And so when you're in that type of situation, okay, let's really talk it through. But or if you're in immigration court, then it's like, hey, you got nothing to lose. Let's find a way to request cancellation or to apply for one of these other benefits we've talked about. All right. The seventh and final option that I'm going to state for today is DACA. All right. DACA, remember, is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It only counts if you've entered the U.S. before turning 16, and if you've entered before June 15th of 2012 and you've stayed in the U.S. until the present. And yes, you must have gone to school, graduated from school, or obtained a honorable discharge from the U.S. Armed Forces. All right. Those are the 7 big options. Oh, another thing about DACA, it's currently on pause. Right? We're going to see there's all kinds of crazy things happening with the DACA program. So if there's some other option, like it's better to find some other option, one of the others that I just examined here with you right now. Okay? So those are the 7 big options, and I call them big options. And actually, they're each quite narrow. All right? Which is why there's 11 million people in the US that don't have documents, because the law doesn't really give them a way to get documents, right? Like these are the ways to do it. And so anyway, I hope this was helpful. Again, it is not easy to be undocumented in the United States. If you are undocumented in the United States, and if you want help to figure out or to navigate or to strategize which of these options might be best for you, hey, give us a call. Give us a call. We'd love to have you go through our consultations process. We offer a free case evaluation where you can talk this over with our intake team, absolutely free. And if you want a full-on consultation, then they can help you coordinate that as well. All right. So thank you so much for watching this video. If this video was helpful, please give us a thumbs up here on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. All right. And yeah, I wish you the very best of luck with your immigration case. My name is Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.